What's up, guys? My name is Steven Guadagni with 5 Tool Sports Science out here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We got a good video coming for you today for 8 pitching velocity killers, so let's hop right into it. All right, first one, gonna be low lean muscle mass. All right, this is probably, in my opinion, the biggest separator for a lot of guys that want to increase pitching velocity is just not having enough lean muscle mass. All right, the average height of an MLB pitcher is gonna be anywhere from like 6'2", 6'3"-ish in that kind of 215 pound range. And then, you know, if you're a guy who's below that 6'3", if you're like 5'10", those dudes tend to be right around 200 pounds. All right, so lean muscle mass has a very high correlation to level of play. All right, so I always show this graph. This is high school at the smallest. Then we've got college over here. This is NAIA, NCAA, and then this is the professional rank. So you can see these massive jumps in each level. So there's a pretty direct correlation in lean muscle mass and each level of play that you go up to. At the far end, the biggest dudes are going to be the MLB guys at 191.9 pounds of lean muscle mass. All right, so there's a pretty direct correlation to level of play and lean muscle mass, and especially for pitchers, it's just highly correlated to ball velocity. So for most guys, this is probably the #1 velocity killer, is you just don't have enough lean muscle mass. All right, so lean muscle mass is going to unlock more horsepower. It's going to make more potential for force production. All right, so it's just going to give you the ability to run faster, jump higher, rotate faster, throw harder, you name it. In athletic ability, lean muscle mass is usually going to help. Okay. It's going to help you enhance force output. Muscle mass gives your body the ability to create power more efficiently. It's just kind of off of the first point. You're just going to be able to produce more force with more lean muscle mass, okay? And it's going to lay the foundation. So without enough muscle, even perfect mechanics won't maximize velo. And I think you're going to see this most, like if you look at little kids, like youth level kids, you can see some youth level kids with just like awesome mechanics. Like you're like, dude, those mechanics are awesome. That looks big league-esque. Like you are sequencing, you're creating hip to shoulder separation, you're blocking your front side, you're rotating the crap out of your hips, you're doing all the right things, but they're still just a kid. Like they're, you know, sub 5'5", they're, you know, right around 100 pounds or maybe even sub 100 pounds. And that low hanging fruit is they're just not as big as what a high school, a college, or a professional level player is going to be. So a lot of people want to point to mechanics of being like, well, mechanics, it's got to be mechanics. We've got to get better at our mechanics. Not necessarily. A lot of the times is you just don't have enough horsepower. You're just not producing force like these professional level players are. You don't have the lean muscle mass that the level of play that you're trying to play at requires. Okay? All right, #2 is going to be poor arm strength. I think this is another big one of just a low-hanging fruit for guys, especially in this day and age where baseball has really adopted the strength and conditioning and this bigger, faster, stronger mentality of getting in the weight room and trying to get guys more explosive, trying to build lean muscle mass on guys, trying to get guys bigger, trying to get guys stronger, trying to get guys throwing harder. We can start to leave the throwing arm behind, okay? So it just becomes another link in the chain that I think baseball is starting to catch up to, where we're really starting to monitor and look at with dynamometer testing the strength levels of external rotation, internal rotation, horizontal abduction, grip strength, and get an idea of how strong your arm is, and using that data to create throwing programs to help you increase velocity and to help you reduce the risk of injury. So this is a big one, all right? So grip strength, cuff strength, scap strength, horizontal abduction strength. They protect your throwing arm under high stress. It's just going to build a buffer and a shield kind of around how much torque we're putting on the throwing arm, especially when you're trying to throw hard. All right, it helps you convert energy into velocity. A strong arm is going to help you transfer the force efficiently from the body to the ball. All right, so when we're talking pitching mechanics, when we're talking about like kinematic sequence and our ability to transfer energy from our hip rotation into hip to shoulder separation, transfer energy from our trunk rotation and into the arm, that final link of the chain, that arm, has to be incredibly strong in order for you to efficiently put energy onto the baseball and then to be able to decelerate. So I'm a big believer in, like, your body isn't going to let you do something if it thinks you're going to hurt yourself. So if you build a really strong arm, it kind of gives the brain and it gives the body a little security to go, I can accelerate this thing as fast as possible because I know that that arm is really strong. And I'm going to let it rotate faster and whip harder because I believe it's going to be safe. And I think a lot of what's happening in baseball right now is guys are building bigger bodies, they're building more explosive bodies, they're building bodies that are rotating faster, but the arm strength hasn't really been emphasized, and I think that it's a big reason why we're seeing so many injuries, right? And then, so the last point is just tracking. It tracks what matters. Dynamometer testing gives objective feedback to help us guide arm care development. All right, number 3, lack of rotational power. All right, so this is a big one. I think just in your strength and conditioning, you really have to be emphasizing rotational power, okay? You really have to be emphasizing surfing the full curve, surfing the full force velocity curve of high force and high velocity movements in your rotational power. So meaning like you might want to do something where you are using a functional training machine and you're using something heavy, whether it's an isometric or just really heavy, wood chopper rotations, something like that. Something where you're building strength in that range of motion, but then pairing it with explosive movements like med balls and water bags, okay? So you have to have a really strong emphasis on creating rotation, getting better at rotating, and producing as much rotational force as possible, all right? In pitching, it's a linear movement, but there is a huge transverse portion of it. There's a huge rotational aspect of it. So the better that we can get at rotating, potentially the harder you're going to be able to throw. And if you're a hitter, potentially the harder you're going to be able to swing and hit with more power, all right? So building rotational power is really key, and you don't see a lot of it in people's strength and conditioning programs, especially at like the high school level. You might get, more of like kind of a football style of strength and conditioning, especially out here in the South. Dudes are really into like, power cleans and back squats and deadlifts and bench press, all your conventional lifts, but they really leave out a lot of the rotational power, which is a huge mistake in my opinion, and you're probably leaving velocity on the table. All right, so it helps you create real whip, powerful rotation from the hips and core. It equals elite trunk velocity. It's proximal to distal sequencing. So proximal is going to be your trunk and your hips. Its ability to rotate and create power is transferring energy onto your arm. All right, so the more explosive we can get through our hip rotation, the more explosive we can get through our trunk rotation, the more energy you can potentially transfer onto the arm, which is going to equate to higher velocity. All right, so it's transferring energy up the chain, rotational forces, bridges lower body power to arm speed, and then use drills that work, med ball throws, scoop tosses. If you got fancier equipment, a Proteus motion, a Kaiser functional trainer, just a regular old functional trainer. Even things like flywheel training. There's all kinds of ways that we can train rotational power these days, and it's really important for pitchers. All right, number 4, biomechanical inefficiencies. All right, this one's obvious, and this is the one that people always like to talk about. It's just fixing energy leaks. So clean sequencing means we're gonna, more force is going to reach the baseball. So clean sequencing in our kinematic sequence, which is gonna be, powering our angular velocity of our hips, all right? So you have your linear force, and then you've got angular velocity of your hip rotation, landing into hip to shoulder separation. So we've passed energy through our hip rotation, landing at front foot strike to create a stable base, stretched as far as possible through our diagonal line so that we're in a closed, separated position, storing energy through the trunk. And then once we've hit front foot strike, it just becomes reactive. And that trunk is going to go through rotation. So you're going to have angular rotation of your trunk, and then it's going to pass that energy onto the baseball. So zoom, all the way through. All right, so fixing any energy leaks through there is obviously going to help you throw more efficiently, potentially lowering your risk of injury and helping you throw the baseball harder. All right, so it's going to help you improve timing. Proper mechanics lead to later trunk rotation and greater hip to shoulder separation. Helps you be more efficient. Better movement is going to equal higher velocity with less effort. So that's a pretty common one, is just understanding in your mechanics, where are you leaking energy, and then what you have to do to fix it, okay? Number 5 is going to be mobility restrictions. So unlocking full range, limitations in hips, spines, or shoulders restrict movement quality. This is going to help us prevent compensations. Poor mobility forces athletes into risky positions, especially when pitching. And it's going to help you create clean mechanics. Mobility is the foundation for repeatable, powerful delivery. All right, so this goes without saying. If you are trying to get more hip to shoulder separation, your T-spine is super locked up, or you've got terrible hip internal rotation, or you name it. If your ankles are super dysfunctional and you move like crap in the weight room, it's going to affect the way that you move on the mound. I think this is just common sense at this point. So if you have mobility restrictions and then you're looking at your pitching mechanics, whether it's just filming and looking at it or doing a motion capture and looking at your pitching mechanics, you'll identify where your energy leaks are, and a lot of that can be attached to your body just can't get to the ranges that you need it to get to. all right? So working on mobility can help you unlock some of those ranges and free up some more velocity in your delivery. So if you're super tight and wound up and you don't have a lot of stretch and elasticity in your body, it's going to hurt your pitching velocity. So working on mobility restrictions is absolutely going to help you unlock some velocity. All right. So poor force to velocity profiling. This again is going back to our strength and conditioning and just understanding what type of athlete you are. So a big rule of thumb is just going to be like, if you are a guy who is stronger than he is fast, then you probably need to work on more velocity specific outcomes in the weight room. Okay, whether that be plyometric training, whether that be strength speed or speed strength type workouts, whether that could be something like ballistic exercises, that could be something like Olympic lifts, anything that's going to be focusing more on the velocity side of the profile versus the strength side of the profile. And then on the flip side of that, you get dudes that are faster than they are strong, and hey, you probably need to be working more on the force side, which is going to be getting stronger in your traditional lifts like deadlifts, back squats, lunges, getting strong on single legs, getting strong on two legs, bench press, rows, all your compound lifts. Getting stronger is going to help you. Okay, so understanding what type of athlete you are and what you need to focus on in your training. So you have to train the right traits, identify if you're strong and slow or fast and weak, and fix it. Maximize output. Targeting your force velocity curve gives you sport specific gains, and then it helps you avoid wasted effort. So velocity based training and profiling ensure your training matches what velocity demands. So you could waste a lot of time if you're a big strong dude who's got mobility restrictions and you need to work more on the velocity side of things, and you're just in the weight room sticking to your strength and bench pressing 335 pounds and back squatting 500 pounds, and you're this big strong dude. You might be training in the total wrong area. So you have to understand what you need to specifically work on, what your body type is going to thrive at to increase pitching velocity. All right. Number 7, a weak mindset and belief system. So I'm a man of faith. I'm going to get into some faith talk here. So if you're like, hey, I don't, like that whole faith in Jesus type stuff, you might want to just skip this section. But this is a big part to me where I think this is one of the biggest things is you have to be able to believe that you can accomplish this, right? Like anything you do that you set out to do that is going to be good in your life is going to be hard to do. Whether that be like, I want to start a business, or I want to get a high paying job, or I want to go to a good college, or, I want to marry a great girl. Anything you set out to do, it's going to be hard, all right? And you have to have a mindset that's going to allow you to fight adversity and persevere and be consistent and reach the goals that you're trying to reach, all right? So I put this in here. There's a Bible verse. It's Proverbs 23:7. I love this Bible verse. It says, as a man believes in his heart, so is he, all right? And that kind of parallels. There's a great quote by the Ford guy who, made the cars. It was like, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're probably right, all right? And it just goes back to like, you have to believe in your heart that you're able to do something. I see a lot of dudes that they come in, they get motion captured, they get an idea of where they're at, and some people either respond to, now I know what I need to work on, and I'm just gonna charge toward it, and I believe I can do it, and some people, it discourages you, and you're like, I can't do it. And that's the mindset part of it. Like, you have to believe that you can do something, that you can accomplish those goals. Have a firm understanding of what the vision is, what you're planning on going to do. You're like, okay, I want to throw 90 miles per hour. I want to go play some college baseball. That's the vision, all right? And then in between that, you have to put in the work, but you got to believe in your heart and you got to believe in your mind that you can do this, all right? And another Bible verse I love is, all things are possible for the one who believes, all right? Belief shapes our identity and our action. You got to be able to believe that, like, man, this is possible. I can do this, okay? So I would say 100 miles per hour change what's possible now that more athletes are hitting triple digits. The ceiling is shifting at an open mind. So a similar thing happened in track and field with running the mile. I think it was like the 4-minute and something mile. People thought it was impossible. Some dude ran it, and then like 6 months later, like a bunch of other people ran it. It just unlocked the mind to what was possible. And I think the same thing happened in baseball, where 100 miles per hour was so rare. It was such like a, wow, like these freak dudes are doing it, but then people started to see it on TV, and then all of a sudden younger people started to go, you know what, he can do it, I can do it. And it's that belief, it's that going back to, it started to unlock something where they believed that they could accomplish this, and then it started to happen to now where you see dudes on, there's multiple dudes on every team that are throwing 100 miles per hour, all right? So my final point is just buy-in changes behavior. Once athletes start seeing results, they double down and then more belief leads to more effort. I see this all the time with guys when they start training. As soon as they start seeing results and you see that buy-in kick in, everything starts going harder. They start trying a little bit harder. You know, they start, each rep you can see like, you know, they're trying to put behind it because they believe now. They've seen that it works. They've bought in. They believe that this can happen. And then when you're in a training environment, and if one guy has success, when you see a guy break 90 miles per hour, the whole environment changes because they just go, it works. It can happen, and they start to believe, right? So belief is such a key thing to pitching velocity, and your mindset can totally hold you back from what you think is possible. You have to believe it's possible for you, okay? And my final point, number 8, lack of consistency and time. All right, velocity takes time. The real gains come from stacking years, not months. So people like to think in, you know, I'll give this a shot for a couple of months. Look, man, if you're trying to do baseball as a career, this never stops. You're going to be training year round. I think high school guys get into this mindset a lot. Like, I'll go into my off season, I'll train for 4 months, and then I'll go into my in season and I'm going to stop training. That's not how it works. Name one Division I program where that's their mentality, where dudes just stop training in season. With the advances in strength and conditioning and like better planning around strength and conditioning, guys can still get strong and explosive in season. It's not just an off-season thing. Like, if you're working on isometric strength, if you're working on concentric-based movements, and you're kind of staying away from a lot of the eccentric stuff that's going to make you really tired and sore, and you're really controlling your workload and have a good plan around your volume and intensity, you can still get strong and explosive in season. This doesn't stop. Like, the whole point of this is you just keep stacking your training days over a long period of time, not in just a matter of months, and you're gonna see results. Velocity takes time. We did another video of this. If you are gaining 1/3 of a mile per hour in a month, that's just 0.33 miles per hour in 1 month. Over the course of a year, you've gained 4 miles per hour. All right, for most guys, that is great gains over a course of a year. All right, so I like this picture of it. Like, most people think success, it's just this straight line. This is what it really looks like, and it's just ups and downs and twists and turns. It's like, you have to know that the process is not going to be easy. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be adversity. It's going to be hard. It's not just a straight line process. There's ups and downs, but you stack years of it to reach your goal. All right, so commit to the process. I'd say consistency, perseverance, and discipline are 3 words that y'all need to memorize and understand what they mean. All right, so discipline is just having that habit that you are going to go and train. You're going to work towards your goal every single day. That's discipline. All right, consistency is you're going to do that as long as it takes, over a period of time, all right? Having a long-term outlook for this, that's consistency. And then perseverance is, even when it gets hard, there's gonna be days you're gonna wanna quit. There's gonna be days that you don't believe. That, going back to, that's when the mindset kicks in, that you gotta tell yourself, no, I can do this. All things are possible for the one who believes, right? You have to be able to convince your mind to keep going and that you can do it and not give up. Those are gonna be the big key things, all right? So those are my 8 pitching velocity killers. I hope you guys enjoyed them. We'll catch you next time.